Okay, in this video we're going to go over a focus exercise. Now Piper is reactive on walks and at windows and certain things. Now if she's reactive at a window, you could use the third escalating consequence, go march yourself in between her and the window and move her away. In this one I want to teach you a way, of redirecting her attention. So I have a handful of the high value tricky trainer treats. You want to use a treat that has a strong aroma, and I have one in my right hand because I'm a right-handed person. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lure her into position. I want to be sitting with my knees shoulder width apart, the dog sitting right in front of me between my knees. I'm going to take this and I'm going to make my hands look like fists. Now she's going to go where the smell is strongest. I'm waiting for her to look at me in the face. Now trainers will show you how to do this by holding the treat up next to their head. I want her to do it on her own accord and reward her after she does it. I'm just focus, and I say the word focus. I immediately reload. You got my hands a little slobbery. And I'm waiting again for her to look up at me. Now, at first you're noticing she's not doing it, looking up at me right away. Hopefully, focus. Say the word focus as soon as it goes into her mouth. Focus. So I want you to imagine there's a string that goes from here to here. My movement is to break the string and then travel down its path towards the dog's mouth. Focus. Now there she looked at me with her eyes. She didn't use her whole head, and that's fine. Well, all we want her to do is look at you in the face. It doesn't have to be a full movement. Focus. And we're going to say the focus word as soon as it goes in, touches her tongue. Focus. So that time, you know, she didn't try to accost my fingers for it. Focus. Now when we're doing this, I usually do this about 10 or 12 treats. Focus. Each practice session. And at first it's 1 second, focus. Eventually you're going to do 20-second focus on the second movement. You're going to this is always going to be 1 second. Second movement will eventually be 20 seconds, going very slow. And the whole point is we want to keep the dog looking at our face. So when you're doing this, don't go like this directly to the dog, or don't go up here. You want to go halfway between the dog's line of sight and yours. Focus, and then pop it in the dog's mouth and say the word focus. Now, eventually, at first, focus. So you need to see now she's just looking up at me. She's not even bothered pawing because that didn't get her the treat. Looking up did. So what will happen is when you're doing this, focus. Maybe the first 10, 12 treats that you do it, it's 1 second, 1 second. And then I would have, there's two guardians here. I'd have them, each one of them doing this at least once a day, but it'd be better if you do it, each one of them do it 2 to 3 times a day. It's a pretty short exercise. And eventually, when it gets to the point where she's just pretty much just staring in the face like she is now, then you go to 1 second, 2 seconds for all 10 or 12 treats. And then the other partner would do also 2 seconds. And you might have to do a couple of practice repetitions at 2 seconds, but eventually it gets to the point where it's 20 seconds. Now, I'm going to go through this with the guardians here in a second, but you can use this once you've established it. But to establish it, you have to really practice the heck out of it. So at first what we do is we practice in the house when there's no baby crying, there's no TV, there's no distractions, no dogs outside. We make it as easy as possible. Get up to that 20-second window. Now do it in different parts of your house as well, especially parts of your house that she is distracted by. Now being by a window that overlooks the front of the house, that might be too strong for her at first. You might have to go do it elsewhere. But eventually you'll get to the point where you can do it in front of that place as well. Now, once we get to the point where we get 20 seconds, you can say focus anywhere in the house and she stops, so she's going to look at you, and you can go to 20 seconds on the treat delivery. Then I would go out in your backyard and practice. Now, when you do this, make sure there's no dogs nearby, there's no squirrels. It's a nice, quiet day outside. Now, it's like the hottest week of the year, so maybe this would be a good week to do it. Nobody's going to be outside. And then again, you're going to go back to 1 second for each movement, and then keep practicing this until you can be outside and have the dog focus on you for 20 seconds. Now this is one where like I said, a lot of people, I see them, they practice it for a week and then they start trying to use it when the dog's distracted around things, and they'll ruin it. It won't work. You have to truly establish the focus behavior first, then you can start using it in different situations, but you want to start using it in low level of intensities and then gradually higher and higher. And so eventually this gives you the ability to redirect your dog's attention. Now the first step would be practicing in the house up to 20 seconds, then in the backyard up to 20 seconds. Then what we want to do is we want to practice it on the walk, but not when there are other dogs around. Now I do on the walk, I'm not doing it as formal where we're stopping and putting the dog next to it. I would just have the treat like this, and I'm going to walk this way so you can just follow me with the camera. So I'm going to like focus, focus. So I'm going to be able to walk and redirect the dog's attention away from whatever's coming that she's barking at, looking up at me, and I'm going to start slowly delivering the treat down. So this is the key, is you have to practice it inside so she knows what's going to happen, get up to that 20 seconds. And then when we're doing it on the walk without any other dogs around. And eventually we want to do this when there's another dog, but maybe on the other side of the street. So we can do the focus exercise. So you're walking this way, the dog is walking this way, but it's on the other side of the street, so we have more distance, so it's not as intense. We get her to look up, and she's walking down the street looking up at you instead of looking in front of you. Dogs only focus on one thing at a time, so if they're looking at you, they can't be focusing on something else. And we're creating a positive association with this. Now, there's one little caveat, or not caveat, but there's one little addition to this. Sometimes you're going to be walking, and some dogs are going to come out of around a tree or somewhere where you're just not expecting it. You don't see it. So what I do is I teach the dog a U-turn. So I'm going to see if I can get her to stay walking this side. Come here, sweetheart. So I'm walking down the street, she's in a heel. Every once in a while, I want to just turn for no reason. As soon as she turns around, turn. Pop that treat, and then I'm going to walk about 5 or 6 paces this way. Turn. And then I'm going to walk 5 or 6, and then I'm going to continue my original path. So what I'm doing is basically doing two U-turns. I'm walking this way, and then again, we do this when there's no dogs around. If you only do it when the dog's around, then you try to turn, she's like, where's the dog? So we want her to just get used to it. Just the human, for some reason, just likes to do a half circle and then go there and do another half circle, and then we continue our walk. So maybe when you're doing this at first, sit. In between every driveway, we do the 2 half U-turns. And then after a week, then we do it every other driveway. And so we've done it so often, it's just, when you say the word turn, she just turns around and she's expecting to find that treat. So as you turn, be holding that treat. So as soon as she completes the U-turn, she's looking at the treat, it's right there, and you just say turn as it goes into her mouth. After you've done this enough, then if you do get to the point where there's a dog or something she's going to react to, we can do that U-turn and go the other direction. When your dog is reacting, dogs get better at anything they do, including aggression and reactivity. So if she sees another dog and she starts barking and lunging at it, she's not going to stop until we increase the distance or block her sight. So in the short term, while you're practicing this, try to walk her at times when you're not going to run around into a lot of other people. And if you do, go around a tree, go around a shrub, turn her around and get her, increase the distance. She's doing it probably, I think, in this case, because she didn't have a lot of rules and boundaries, I think she thinks she needs to protect. Does she have any dogs that she's friends with?
A couple, yeah.
Okay, so she can know other dogs. It's probably an insecurity. She doesn't, like a lot of bullies, they don't. I used to get beat up so much that I actually went to school I switched to a road, school down the road because I got beat up so much. And I learned later on these bullies were just really insecure. They did not like me. Well, of course they didn't like me, but no, they just were trying to bring me down to their level. And so a lot of times dogs are the same way. They act, sometimes they act aggressively as a bluff. Sometimes they're insecure and they want their dog to go away, and they just don't know how to deal with because they don't have a lot of practice. This is why it's so important to get your dog into puppy school and get them used to being around other dogs. But dogs can have a bad experience, and that can also change their perception of other dogs. So basically, the focus exercise, which is what this video is, and it incorporates the U-turn, will give you guys tools to redirect the dog's attention. And if you really master it and you increase the distance to appropriate level, you'll be able to get the dog to look up at you. Now they can't focus on the other dog, and you've eliminated them from reacting. Again, the best way to do this, though, is before they even start reacting, to get them to look back at you. Now, real quick before I wrap up this video, there's some warning signs that a dog will give to communicate I'm feeling uncomfortable. Usually the first one is a stare. Usually with a lower head. Sometimes it's a direct stare. Sometimes it's I'm looking this way, but I'm looking this way, but I'm actually looking this way. So when dogs are a little bit off kilter, that can be a warning as well. Another warning is licking the lips is really more of a sign of anxiety. Freezing, like statue, is a big warning. So your dog suddenly freezes. It's saying, look, man, you're making me so uncomfortable. I'm stopped what I'm doing, so I'm ready to take full action on what you're doing. Breathing heavily or holding their breath. The tail going up, the ears rotating forward, the hackles, the hair on their spine and between their hips and shoulders going up as an involuntary reflex. Any one of these things by itself, I would pay attention to the dog, maybe the tail, and I wouldn't be as concerned about it. But I start seeing a combination of these things, that's when I'm going to start paying attention to my dog's a little bit, she's licking her lips, she's getting stiff, she's moving around, her tail's up, her ears are forward, what's she triggering on? And you can usually tell what your dog is looking at. Oh, there's a dog across, way at the end of the block walking this way, so we might turn and walk down somebody's driveway. Or just do something, or just stop and just practice the focus exercise with that other dog at her side. Don't put the dog behind her, because then she's going to want to keep on turning around and see what the dog's doing. If it's kind of on her side, she can kind of see it, but you're practicing the focus exercise, focus, and helping her redirect her attention as opposed to getting her in trouble. Right? That's right. All right, so this is how you can use the focus and a U-turn to keep your dog from reacting to other dogs.